What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm back. Yes, sir. I'm back once again. And we are here for another episode of On the Other Hand podcast. And I, Young Leak, is bringing on Amir Carlise, former USC and Notre Dame slot receiver standout. He played a little bit of running back at USC. When he transferred to Notre Dame, he went to slot receiver and had great impact. Played a little special teams, punt return, kick return. Went to CFL, played a little CFL, played a little AFL. And, man, he's been all over the world football map. And now he's transitioned to that next stage of life. A lot of guys in the NFL don't have an opportunity to get a chance to transition as smoothly as Amir does. So now we're going to get Amir on and talk about his uncommon journey through the sports world with USC, Notre Dame, and then how he's taken his lessons he learned from Notre Dame and crossed that over to his new life in business, where he's still in the football arena, in the sports world, which is why this is even a better podcast, because even when you're done with sports, you can still be involved in sports. And Amir has proven to do that in a way that's beneficial not only to himself and have a business after the life of sports, but he also is creating a whole nother life for retired players and current players in the NFL, because life is about financing. Make sure you guys understand that life is about financing. And as you heard so much, you see so many documentaries and stories about guys blowing through all their money as professional athletes. And it's kind of crazy to think about how you blow through millions and billions of dollars when the common man thinks like, oh, well, if I have millions and millions of dollars, no way I'm blowing it like that. But Amir Carlise has got something special up his sleeve with his new business structure on how he's providing these players that are current, past, current rookies through like past veterans on how they can still get into investing, financial planning, and different things that come up. Because the problem in NFL sports, problem in pro sports, is that the pro athlete usually focuses on the sport. So then the whole circle around the athlete is everybody else that involves handling their money. Well, nowadays you want to handle your own money. And this is where player business is even becoming more important, especially for college guys. Now they're getting a chance to be in the spotlight where they can make some money themselves while being in school. I wish I had it. I would have been a millionaire already. But being a chance that now that that's possible, Amir's got this great business idea where he's implementing guys to be financially smarter so they don't blow through all their money. Like, who doesn't like to save money? I like to save money. All right, so let me get Amir on here. I'm getting Amir set up, and it's going to be great, guys. You guys going to love this. And we're going to talk some more football. It's not a chance where you don't get a chance to talk to too many players all their either right after their career or during their career where they can give you some good details. So we're going to talk to Amir about the football side of things and how he transitioned from going from an athlete where you're stuck in one mind to being able to transition that to business where making headway. He's got plenty of guys that are invested that are huge financial corporations because it's much more than just football. But Notre Dame itself is an opportunity and a place where you get a chance to sit in the room with some of the biggest and the brightest. Taking advantage of those opportunities and those relationships is what matters. So let's get Amir on here. When we get rolling, I'm going to play some of his highlights while we waiting on my guys. Just so y'all remember who we have at Notre Dame, man. Can't forget about the GOATs. Man, I bet y'all didn't know that Amir actually had a YouTube video where he had like 3 million views as like a 11-year-old. This is before YouTube got huge, so he's kind of famous already from that. But we've had a lot of famous people on our team. We had Ray with CJ Sanders, who hopefully gets on eventually. We had Jesse Bon Jovi, Corey Robinson, Torrey Hunter Jr. I mean, the stars came out when we was out there. But yeah, let me play some Amir highlights. See what we cooking with. Anyway, make sure y'all comment in the make sure y'all comment. Let me see. Oh yeah. Oh, we trying to get Amir's highlights on there. Oh, hold on. I'm trying to get Amir. All right, we about to get it. Where is Amir at? All right, make sure y'all comment. Making sure we're getting everybody in. All right, let me see how I can pull this. All right, here we go. About to get Amir on right now. Here we go. Yo.
What's up, Leak? How you doing?
What's up, brother? Thank you so much for joining the podcast. I was about to play some of your highlights to let the people remind themselves of who we dealing with
Oh
out here.
man,
This is
man,
not an ordinary guy.
and I'm still quick.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Welcome to On the Other Hand podcast, where we talk about the uncommon sports lives while being in sports from our favorite athletes. So you being at USC, a powerhouse school and a Power Five school, and then transferring to Notre Dame and having a successful career there. Not many people can say that alone. And then the fact that you've been able to transition from an all-star athlete to business is something that's very uncommon as well. So we want to dive all into that. But first, what you been up to? Quarantine. Is a lot of life changed since then.
Yeah, so quarantine it's been solid. No complaints. Blessed. We're out here in the Bay Area. My dad and I have a fitness studio. Unfortunately, we've been closed since March 15th. But we've been able to transition some things outside. Been spending a lot of time with the family. Outside walk. So it's definitely been a. I know there's been a lot of people who've had a very unfortunate circumstances during quarantine. So definitely count on my blessings and very grateful and appreciative for the position we've been in during this quarantine period. And condolences to everyone who's lost their life due to COVID, and really just praying for the health and safety of the nation for real.
Yeah, man, it's strange times, but I think the one thing that football has really gotten into our system is being able to survive and adapt and
Yeah,
maneuver no matter what kind of situations are thrown your way. I think that's
yeah,
a undeniable quality about what we learn from football because yeah, we're going to get knocked down, but we find ways to bounce back and bounce back in there.
yeah,
So I'm glad to see you
yeah,
being able to stay afloat during this time. But I
yeah,
want to kind of start before we jump into the business side of things.
yeah,
But
yeah,
talk a little bit about USC, where you first went to school
yeah,
before you decided to come to Notre Dame.
yeah. So I went to USC out of high school. Reggie Bush was, my idol coming out. Reggie Bush 2005. Every kid in the world wanted to be Reggie Bush. When he had the one sleeve from Fresno State. So it was always in my mind, like, originally I had committed to Stanford, but USC came on late. And that was just a dream school, being playing in the Coliseum where Reggie Bush played, down in LA, South Central. These boys in the hood, you right in the thick of things. So it was awesome. I had a great experience there. My parents ended up moving, which is why I ended up making the transfer to Notre Dame. But USC was a great experience. It was fun. We had a great team that year, great camaraderie. So yeah, I had a great experience when I was at USC.
Exactly. I mean, USC is like you said, is Hollywood, and it's in
Yeah,
the good weather. It's in the Pac-12. You got so many talented guys that come through that we looked up to as kids.
yeah,
So it's really a dream come
uh,
true. But like you said, your parents moved, and then you moved essentially because of
yeah,
that as well. Now Notre Dame's a different place than USC, as I can
yeah,
imagine. Not only are they rivals, but it's two different type of how do you say it, like campuses.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Night and day. USC is an urban city. liberal private school. Notre Dame is a, Catholic conservative in South Bend, Indiana. So, the biggest adjustment really was just the weather, going from sunny LA. I was on my longboard rolling through campus every single day. December, I got a t-shirt on a longboard to Notre Dame. I had to get a Parker jacket. I didn't own a jacket when I transferred with some snow boots.
The first
And,
mistake.
yeah. Growing up in California, it's everyone always says I want to go to the snow, in reference to Lake Tahoe. And it's nice. You get to, be in great weather, then go up to the snow and come back. So snow is something that's kind of this, there's this mystique around it. And you get to South Bend and it snows 30 days in a row. And it's like, man, I don't know if I like snow anymore.
No doubt. It is crazy because the snow that people think that, especially the ones that haven't seen it, they're like, yeah, like I can't wait to play in it. But once you actually are there, you taste it for a good 10 minutes, you're like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, nah. 10 minutes, 5. As soon as that cold hits you when you walk outside, you don't want to walk right back inside.
100%. Now, football definitely changed for you moving from SC to Notre Dame. You played a little bit of running back at SC, and then Notre Dame, you found different ways to get on the field. What was kind of like that transition for you just from an athlete? You go through all of high school playing one certain position and just kind of being an athlete, but now Notre Dame is putting you in different places. What was that like for you?
Yeah, so the transition was tough, and the reason for that was the injury that I had. So coming from USC, I had played my true freshman year. I had dealt with a minor knee injury during that season, but going into my sophomore year, I was looking to get significant time at running back. Came to Notre Dame, and immediately, had an accident in winter workouts where broke my ankle and had severe nerve damage. And so then, that was a tough uphill battle. There was a point in time, I never really talked about it, but there was a point in time where the nerve damage was so bad that I didn't think I was going to ever be able to play again. I couldn't walk right for a year and a half. And so with that, my freshman year, and just in terms of my speed, explosiveness, and being able to change direction, um, I feel like there wasn't too many people in this country and who are better than me at that. And then being able to have to relearn how to even walk properly, how to cut properly. And so, that was tough. I tried to come back, was it 2012? I couldn't even jog proper. And then the next year, still like I couldn't, like even to this day, I still can't feel my foot all the way. And so it's just being able to adapt to that. That was the thing. Like, coming in as a running back, and I did solid. The 2013 started a few games. Then had a rough deal that season and ended up transitioning to wide receiver. Where I was able to become the number 3 receiver, and but it really started, that transition period was uphill because I got hurt almost immediately and had to deal with that injury for about a year and a half. And so it was a tough transition, but as you said, as athletes, we're built to persevere, we're built to be resilient, and just working with the training staff and getting to a point where I was able to compensate properly and still be able to play, and still get out there and make an impact in some form or fashion was, definitely something that it was an awesome experience, and it's really taught me kind of just continue to battle back.
100%, and it's true because you go through high school, you're killing the competition, you're not really nicked up, and then you get a severe injury in a moment where you feel like, all right, this is these moments where I can't miss because I'm trying to get to that next level. But during that time, that year and a half when you're going through the recovery, what's your mindset? Okay, maybe football's not everything. Was that something that crossed your mind at the time to kind of start this? Okay, maybe I can start seeing more than just these practices and trying to make it to the league?
Yeah, that 100%, 100%. So during that time, as you can imagine, as a former athlete who had to deal with injuries, it's tough mentally when you're in the building and you're going from someone, a coach is like, "Hey, we're game planning, we're going to get you involved," to where they just walk by you in the hallway, and so had to find an outlet to where I could then transfer some of that pent up energy and use it for positivity. And so what I did is, I've always been an entrepreneur and somebody who's super interested in business. And so I built an app with this kid on campus. It was called Buzz. And, basically it was like Snapchat campus stories where everyone who posted a video or a story went to a campus feed. And so I spent that whole season when I was hurt in the next season, in the off season, building that app. And so, I joined a couple of the clubs at Notre Dame, the coding club on Wednesday nights. And so really, my goal was to diversify myself. I always knew football was, something that I did. It wasn't who I was. And, I was going to use everything. Football got everything out of me, beat my body up. And so for me personally, I had to make it a point to get everything out of it. And so, really use that time during that, that year where I was hurt to really, start to explore different, avenues of interest for myself.
Now, code's not an easy thing to just jump into. And is that technologies being that you were in California and just around just the whole technology surface and then transitioning Notre Dame, what kind of was that spark of interest that got you into coding and technology? Whereas ain't that many kids thinking about doing apps while they're injured. They may say, okay, I may go to class and do communications, write a couple papers, but you was on the technology side early during that time.
Yeah, I was completely unaware that I even lived in Silicon Valley. I heard the word before, but I really wasn't aware. Like now in retrospect, like, the kids who I went to school with, whose parents worked at different tech companies, it was just something that really didn't connect. That like I was in the, the heart of the tech hub of the world. Some technology, it was always something that was interesting to me. Met a couple people who were in computer science while I was at ND, and that was really kind of what exposed me to it. It wasn't necessarily, being from out here. It was a couple kids that I, met while in passing, and just talking about different ideas. And so that's just kind of how it kind of came about. It was to met a kid who was a CS major at ND, and I actually tried to change my major to CS. What was it, junior year? But they said I had to start over, so I went IT. But that was really kind of when started to get interested in kind of tech app space.
It's interesting too because people don't know how Notre Dame really operates. People assume that Notre Dame is like a place, is like a public school, but it's not a public school whatsoever. It's a place where you're meeting people from all around the world that does amazing stuff. So what was that inspiration like on campus that was different than USC, where it's primarily public and it's a different focus? Talk about that different focus on Notre Dame as compared to other places.
Yeah, so when I went to USC, I was a theater major. I had, my passion was acting. I had, been involved in acting, whether musical theater or theater, since I was in second grade. And so, I always wanted to be an actor. I did auditions in high school. I was always in the school musical. And so, moving to USC, being in the heart of LA, it was perfect. It was perfect. It was awesome. You had your connections around film. But also, equally as interested was, I love business, and, Notre Dame, Mendoza College of Business being the, top undergrad business school, it was awesome. Opened my eyes to a whole new world. And just like you alluded to, the networking opportunities, as during the recruiting process, when they tell you, Notre Dame's not a 4-year decision, it's a 40-year decision. And really, it's so true. There's so many great people. So many people who I've leaned on, after, my time being there. So many people who I, went there with, who, I still keep in contact today on a business relationship, standpoint. And so, it's so the business school, there's so many motivated individuals, so many people doing cool things. And, it just takes, networking, talking to some people, and so many great things coming from ND grads.
100%. You always been in love with business. You always been in love with just the entrepreneurial spirit. And what's funny is that when I got to college, I experienced that football was a business.
Yeah.
And you don't learn until you actually hit some adversity or look around and realize that it's just bigger than playing the game. So what about the side of football that became a business that stood out to you, and how you reapproached coming to the game in that way?
Yeah, so I got privy to the idea that football is a business early on with my dad being a coach. And him coaching in the NFL, just seeing just how cutthroat it is, just how cyclical the business is. It's a "what have you done for me lately" business, and it's no different when you go to these big colleges. Just the simple fact that they can't cut you, but they really do cut people in college, where take your scholarship, go to class, but we don't really need you anymore on the field. And I saw that early on in my coach freshman year. He Coach Kennedy Palomalu, he always told us, he said, "Be a pro, be prepared, ready for your opportunity." So that was always my mindset when I approach football. Things are going to go well sometimes. Things aren't going to go well, but always be prepared and ready for that opportunity. And I really saw it firsthand was that 2013 season when I came in hot. Started, had a good couple games, and I fumbled against Purdue, and that was pretty much it for me that season. Didn't play much after that. Had lost confidence. Just really wasn't performing well with the opportunities that I was getting. And then they shifted me to receiver the next year, which was kind of a back against the ropes. I had, as a running back that year, I had dropped a few passes, so logically it didn't make sense for me to move to receiver. It was an opportunity for me. How was I going to respond? I could either, fold, and then I probably wouldn't play. I would never have played again in my career. I would have kind of just got moved to the back of the depth chart, told to focus on my schoolwork, or I could respond. And I feel like for what the cards I was dealt, I feel like I responded well. Ended up playing a significant amount. But yeah, it was that 2013 season that I firsthand saw it. I knew about it, but really it was like, Notre Dame is a powerhouse. They're going to recruit 4 and 5 stars to replace you the next year. And so it's you either perform or you don't perform. And it's even more so when you get to the NFL, where it's 110% of business. But hey, it's all a business. But that's kind of, when I was first privy to, the nature of it, the cutthroat nature, I should say, of it.
And I just believe it sucks. It's not, guys don't understand that it's okay for it not to be fair, because you learn so much through it that you expect it to be fair because you work hard, and it doesn't always translate into the things that you expect to get out of it, which is so crazy how you think about it, because you train your whole life for those 3 or 4 years to prove that you can be ready for that next level. So much happens in those 3 to 4 years that you sometimes can't control, that it takes a toll on guys. And as you got out of school and you still being a competitor, you're chasing that NFL dream and playing the professional leagues, you start to notice that guys in your same class and guys that are coming out of that college football have a big piece missing, it feels like. I don't know if you felt like that, but it was like a big void left in guys that couldn't make it to the league. Now, did you notice that like right after, or was there a moment where you noticed that, man, a lot of kids don't have clues as to what to do after football?
No, 100%. It's tough. I mean, it's something, you're committed to it for, shoot, I started playing when I was 10. Most guys, when did you start playing?
Like third grade, second grade.
It's crazy. You literally commit to this game every single week of your life since you were 9, 8, 10 years old. You play all the way until you're 25, 26, and then poof, it's gone. Like there's no more. And so, for guys who I think who really enrapture their whole persona, who they are into the game, it's tough because it's like a piece of you is missing when the game goes. And that void is tough to fill. It's like, well, what do I do now? And so you get a lot of guys in that, well, what do I do now? State. And it's tough if you don't have the proper support. It's great, guys like us who went to Notre Dame who provide great career transition, career development for players and students. But for guys who don't have that, it's like, it's really hard. I see, guys just, it really hit them hard. It really hit them like a ton of bricks and then you get into this cycle where it's like, I'm gonna hold on to the dream. I'm gonna continue to train it. I'm gonna continue training, hopefully to get that call. And for me personally, that wasn't what I wanted to do. I'm not training hoping I get anything. I'm taking the power into my own hands. I'm creating my own narrative. I'm not waiting for somebody. So
Yeah, you can't wait.
that's
The waiting thing is the
yeah,
worst part about football.
yeah,
Waiting.
yeah. I'm not gonna wait.
Now, now, thinking about it in hindsight,
Yeah,
you go through what we feel like as players sometimes BS getting through to where you feel like you could have been the whole time. But how much of it now, hindsight being out of it at the college level, do you believe that players should have more power in some respect, or maybe there should be like how the NBA has it, where there's a lot more freedoms for players? Like, do you think that's a possible thing in football for individual players that have the freedoms of like a basketball would, like you see LeBron having
yeah.
control over what happens and where he goes and how teams are structured? Or do you always think it's just from a top down situation in football?
I mean, I'd love to have, NFL or, college football where players have more power. The NBA is a very, star driven league. The league is driven by the top guys. Football, I say, is a more of a team sport, even though you do have your top name guys, but it takes you can't one or two guys can't carry a team. It takes 11 men out there, and really, the structure of the NFL, especially, the owners have control, and the owners, it's their way or the highway. The NBA, I feel like, is a little more progressive, where guys like LeBron James, your top name guys, have more influence on even the day to day, not even on more on the decision making process, where GMs and owners are talking to those guys. Is there a world where that, I don't know, in the NFL? I mean, it would be great, it would be awesome, but just kind of that power structure of player and owner, it's owner owns the team, and they let they own the team. So yeah, yeah, I don't know. It would be great, but I just due to how the kind of the current structure of things are, I just don't see it as progressive as the NBA, kind of that relationship between star and owner.
Yeah, you're right, man. It's like we know players run the league, but football is just so many players. It's just a little different. I think it's just a
Yeah.
different way for players to gain that power. And having a dad like you do, he's your biggest coach at the earliest. He's been at the NFL. He's been around all the places that you kind of got to see as you were going through your football career. What was that influence like that your dad has had on you? Because after school, you started working with him doing the training. So
Mhm.
talk about his impact on you during playing, and then how it's kind of translated into now and how you're moving now.
Yeah, my dad is, I'd say probably the most influential person in my life. Throughout my playing career, he was, early on, he was the crazy dad who was always doing, like, I mean, he told me, he said, it's a pay now or pay later approach. I can pay now or pay later. I'm choosing to pay now, so go. You better get a scholarship. And so, I took that to heart, and he put me in the best position to succeed, put me in great camps, and then his training, where it was fun, where he exposed me to how the NFL works. I was able to train alongside Frank Gore and Michael Crabtree when I was in high school, and then throughout my college career, as someone who, you know, I was able to talk with through the ups and downs, where some, like we alluded to earlier, sometimes it gets tough emotionally. And he was someone who always was able to provide insight, and always was encouraging throughout that. And now, since college, we've transitioned to being able to work together now, which I think is really awesome. It's tough, how father son relationship sometimes. Back in high school, like, don't tell me what to do, Dad. But
Yeah,
now, it's he's someone who's at the pinnacle of what he does, and being able to just sit there and be a sponge and learn, and you know get better at a new craft as I transition and kind of redefine what I do now. It's been so awesome. And I think that's these are memories that I'm going to take with me for the rest of my life, of really just being able to have a great working relationship with my dad. So that's been awesome. for me.
Exactly, man. Having a great relationship with your dad, it just shows just how important it is throughout your life. Even if you don't
Yeah.
see it in the beginning where you're paying for it, where you're like, man, this guy's crazy. He's just trying
Yeah. I
But then
mean,
you
that's
get
mine.
through it and you realize, man, he really was giving me game. He was giving me
Yeah.
that I can turn into now. And then now you're a father now. So
Yeah.
have you seen yourself kind of taking things from your dad to your own, and now you be the dad, how you operate?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And having a daughter now, it's just a little different than having sons. You just got to be, how I am personally, just always super encouraging. I'm not going to be as hard as he was on me. And I think he's learned because he wasn't as hard as he was on me as he was on my little brothers.
Right.
And so, it's being encouraging. Whatever when she gets into sport, just letting her choose the sport that she wants to do. And just support her wholeheartedly. She will get the best training, whatever sport that she chooses. And if she doesn't want to play sports, that's okay too.
Yeah.
I'll find her whoever the best coach, whatever she wants to do. So, no, it's definitely been, definitely carried over, principles that he instilled in us as young kids to my child.
Yeah, man, it's kind of crazy to see how
Yeah.
before you know it, you're in the same position you
Yeah.
were just sitting in. And you're like, wow, this is
Yeah, man,
a
it's
cool
crazy.
transition.
Man, it's crazy how time flies, man. I just remember when you were 18 coming in, young Denzel.
Yeah, but we don't know. I went to school early. Amir was my first friend, and it's just ever since then, 7 years later, you would have never thought we would be here. Like, did you know that you would be still in sports after you were done playing? Where I was thinking like, man, when I'm done playing, I'm gonna do something else. But I found myself back working in sports. Did you see that same thing happen to you?
I didn't. But it's that gravitational pull, we're athletes at heart. And we still like to compete too. You know how it is. I get out there, I'll compete with the best of them. Like I said, I'm still quick.
You definitely got to show the younger kids. When I was doing I was like, I got to show them. I was in college for a reason.
Yeah, the other day I had to pull out one of the kids I trained to pull out some one-on-one clips. Like, hey, I don't know if you don't know about me, but look, that's what I was doing back in the day.
This is why you should listen to me. I was
why you should listen to me for real.
Now, staying competitive and being that I don't think it'll ever leave you or leave any athlete that plays at a high level like that, you've taken that competitiveness and put it into a business. Yeah. And I kind of want to dive into that business part that is very uncommon and different because you're taking an approach to kind of support the business and not take from the play, which you see so much of in professional sports where you just see everybody taking because the player is so focused on just playing.
Yeah, most definitely. So, started a business. So on one end, work with my dad and Carlisle Performance System, and on the other end, Sheldon Day, former ND alum. Shout out to Sheldon Day. Me and Sheldon, we came into Notre Dame together first day. We moved in together. And we were the same major, we had the same tutor, we had about 18 classes together. And so we always said we were going to do something together after school. And so, after I got done playing my couple years, I moved out back to the Bay, and Sheldon moved back to the Bay when he got picked up by the 49ers. And so we said, look, it's time, this is our opportunity. Let's do something together. And so, a business always starts with a problem. And especially a problem that you're passionate about. And so the problem that we were most passionate about is, like you said, it's a take environment for professional athletes. And it's like, who's there really to protect their interests? And so this take culture, really leaves athletes in a less than optimal position, during their playing career or even post career, where really, we took a deep dive, just looking at kind of how the stakeholders surrounding an athlete, how they operate, and really due to the economic structure of how fees are being charged. There, what we saw that there was really no economic incentive for, say, financial advisors, agents, the NFL, the Players Association to really operate in a player's best interest. And so you have all of these stakeholders surrounding an athlete in the middle of it. The player is like, well, who's got my best interest in mind? And then if that player, gets hurt, God forbid, and, goes broke, he's a forgotten man. It's like a graveyard of so many guys who that has happened to, where there really hasn't been that support system, someone who was there, whose interests align with that player to help them, uplift them, teach them, educate them, empower them, help them transition afterwards. They're just really the forgotten man. And that's the sad thing. If you're not, you know, Tony Romo or, Rob Gronkowski or Shannon Sharp with this, who's, these great careers and able to really just seamlessly transition to broadcasting. And you might just be the middle of the man, middleman on the team, or the end of the guy on the end of the bench. What happens to him? And, sometimes they fall on their feet if they go to, have a great network, a great support system. And other times, as we've seen, even what, our friends, what do? They have a little bit of savings that they saved up. They live off of that till it's gone. And forgotten man. So that's what really, motivated us to create a better solution. So, we see power in unity. There's so much that you can do within a community. And, why not unify professional athletes and then leverage that community to, really create this system, this entity for our collective advancement. So that was really the premise of, why we created what we created and how. And it really just starts with unifying players. It's just bringing us together. And then now when we're together, there's collective power in that unity. And there's a lot of different avenues that we can explore. And you can really increase the quality of so much just by coming together. So
And I think you saw that too with how the NFL runs the NFLPA. There's not a lot of unity within that structure itself, because as you can see, so many guys are so upset over the deals that get done every time that it comes around. Is this the Players Company a transition to help that side of things too, or is this more for the individual player while being a part of that brand or that organization?
Yeah, so the NFL Players Association, they do their best. We've had contact with them. And there's certain things that they're not able to do just from a regulatory standpoint. But I think having the Players Company, it's for players by players. I mean, we're predominantly made up of current players. It's 80% of current players, and being able to really understand the pulse of what's going on, I think gives us a unique advantage to augment what the Players Association is doing. Our goal is never to replace, but just to augment and provide a better solution, for players to be able to explore opportunities and investing, explore career transition opportunities, educating themselves on, foundational financial literacy principles. So it's being able to really, like we say, it's first, like I said, it's bringing this community together, then really just on the back end, establishing defined processes and infrastructure in order to help, guys to empower themselves. So definitely see it as a supplement to what they're doing. And hopefully, one day we get, big enough to a point where, we can work together with different players associations.
Exactly. And for it to sound so beneficial for players, and for it to sound so right and so fitting for what guys really need, and especially as they don't play in a career as long, what's been the challenge of what the NFL culture is for guys to be so slow to try to come and jump on the train of what you're offering, as opposed to, that struggle of trying to convince guys this is good for them? Because you see a lot of players blowing through their money or not taking it serious. But what's kind of that struggle like?
Yeah, it's a great question. First struggle is you don't know what you don't know. You're a 21 to 22-year-old young man coming out of college. And there's a strong emotional attachment with money. And so you're on this emotional high, and no one's saying that you shouldn't enjoy yourself, but you go from not having any money to a lot of money. And of course, the first thing you want to do is take care of your family, buy something that you might have always wanted. And so then there's this long tail process, or this point in time where players, there's a different point in time that a player says, like, man, I really need to invest in, understanding what's going on with my money. I really need to be the general manager of what's going on. And the sad thing is sometimes that realization happens too late. And so it's getting guys, it's really changing the culture. That's the biggest change, or the biggest challenge, I should say. It's changing the culture. As you see kind of in the NBA, guys like LeBron, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, they're at the front of the charge leading this new wave of, athletes diversifying themselves off the court and really, getting into different types of investing, venture capital, starting production studios. And so it's got guys talking in locker rooms like, man, well, what are you doing with your business? Well, that's pretty awesome. In the NFL, it's still fragmented, where you have some guys who are doing some really awesome stuff, but they're doing it in secret. They're real close to the vest with it. And so it's creating a culture of collaboration. It's like, yes, we compete on the field. We compete head to head. We might compete in practice, but off the field, for us to win, it's going to take teamwork. If you're winning, I'm winning. If I'm winning, you're winning. And once we get to that point of kind of this cultural shift where it's like, first off, I might not have all the answers, but I'm going to ask the questions and I'm going to lean on my community to get the answers to those questions. That's when we start to see a shift towards, guys really taking it serious, guys really, becoming the general manager of their finances, really, diversifying themselves, building their networks, asking the right questions. And the earlier we see that transition, the greater success we'll see. So right now you might have guys seeing, coming to that realization year 5, 6, 7, once their second contract. Once we can see that transition, kids start making money in college and they're starting to think about, how do I manage my finances? How can I start building credit now? How can I leverage my brand to, create passive income? Once they start thinking about it early on, you're going to see the numbers and the culture just shift in the NFL, shift to a point where guys now really take, wealth creation and wealth, maintaining wealth and really, giving back to the community seriously. So.
Exactly, because that's what it's really about. I think the second half of the dream that we as guys trying to get to the NFL don't realize is that once we get there, now it's time to build that generational wealth, because it's possible in that short amount of time where, making it is the part that we all love, but we don't see that other side where it's like, now, why not take care of my family for the rest of my life by doing the right things in this short amount of time? And I think that the education piece, like you said, knowledge is power, and knowledge is also freedom. So being able to know what you don't know to help you close that gap is why I feel like your uncommon business is so important.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I think, like I said, it starts with unity first. It starts with unity. It starts with community. And then the possibilities are endless with that. It's about, trusting your community, leaning on your community, and it's about collective advancement. It's the same thing that we're seeing now in terms of, race relations in America. And, with what has been going on and, how we overcome, our bitter history is community. It's coming together and unifying with a common goal of, equality, loving each other and treating each other with respect. And so there's so much power in community. And, starting with the Players Company in the NFL, our goal really is to unify professional athletes and really the bigger vision is really taking it back to our communities where we come from, where, the next Malik Zaire, who's in, third grade right now, is, raised on the principles of, how to build wealth. And he understands when he gets that opportunity that, he doesn't make the mistake that, someone ahead of him made. And that he now can really build wealth and teach his family and really create this generational cycle of wealth creation.
And what we're seeing from that is so important. I feel like your business model is just a microcosm of what we as a community need to do in terms of unity and power economics. I think the most beautiful thing you said was how the buying power of just guys coming together can do a lot more than just an individual success or prosperity in a certain aspect. So 10 guys that got $10 million that all look the same or all part of the same organization, that can really change a whole community as opposed to just keeping the money that people love blowing so much.
Yeah. It was so to that point. So we were talking with Tori's dad, Tori Hunter Sr., and he was just talking about the power of group economics, and leveraging collective purchasing power. And so he was saying he was talking to a couple of his former teammates, and he's like, "Look, Let's go into this together. And one of his teammates said, well, why can't I just do it on my own? And he said, well, shoot, I can too. I could do it on my own too, but it's
We
better
all
if
do
we
it
do
on
this
our own.
together. Yeah, like I got $100 million too. We can do it on our own, both of us, like individually. But that's not how we,
That's not the point.
that's not how we're going to succeed. It's not the point at all. The point is teamwork. And so it's getting guys to understand, like, teamwork makes the dream work. We're better together, as cliche as they sound, but it's getting guys to understand that and buy into that. That's how we succeed. Is we're going to succeed as a team, not individually.
100%. And then two, with all the craziness going on and football trying to get back started, you're seeing a lot of veils come down. A lot of people have to, and especially in high positions, have to address things that may be uncomfortable, not only to them, but to addressing the total population of who they're coaching. And you see it so much in college sports where coaches have to say something and players are feeling a certain way about how things are from a society level. How do you see that integration between societal issues and sports coming together in a college football season like this, where you got seasons being canceled and people still trying to play and players trying to rally to play? How do you see it coming to? Do you think there's going to be a season this year at all?
I think they play some games. We'll see. Hopefully, teams are taking the necessary precautions in order to, thwart the spread of the virus. It's the virus is real, and the crazy thing about it is that it affects people differently. And the worst thing that you can do is expose somebody who's vulnerable. So I think if teams are taking the necessary precautions, shoot, I'd love to see a season being played. And then in regards to really molding together kind of the societal issues that we're dealing with in sports, I think it's awesome. I think there's as college sport, a college athlete, professional athlete, we've been blessed with unique platforms. People are putting microphones in front of our mouth to talk, and people want to hear when college athletes or pro athletes speak. And so it's using that platform to pass a message along and to really get spread awareness of these issues, because I really think change begins with awareness, and it's just using the platform, leveraging the platforms to really permeate this message throughout the country.
Yeah, it's no slowing down. That's one thing I notice is no slowing down on progressive ideas and just progressive issues in general between whites and blacks. Because I think it's the distraction is that they try to be whites versus blacks, whereas really unity, not only amongst our own selves, which we need, but a unity amongst other people. And that's really that stepstone that has to be taken, that is hard not to acknowledge now because so many people got something to say. Everybody has a platform to say their piece, but at this time, it's only unity is what we have to head towards. And you've been doing good for us on our podcast. I got a couple more questions.
For sure.
Like you said, you talked about taking that next transition in your life. You want to, reimagine and kind of revitalize and reinvigorate yourself into that next Amir Carlise. It was support Amir Carlise on the football field and the action that you brought behind that. But now you talk about that transition of becoming a new person or becoming a new evolved person. So what is it that you're trying to prove, now taking that second stage or that next stage of life?
Yeah, great question. How I'm a chip on the shoulder type person. I always, have worked with a chip on my shoulder. And what I really appreciate, my athletic career for is really just instilling this passion, this dedication, in a work ethic. I mean, so I've taken that work ethic to, like you said, I'd say I'm in a loading phase right now. My athletic career was just the start. There's so much greater to come. And it's sports, playing, college football, that would really set a strong foundation for me. And it really taught me to, really overcome and persevere. There's going to be obstacles, especially now in the entrepreneurial journey. I hear no all the time, especially when we first started out. It was rejection. I could care less about rejection now. If there's an obstacle, I'm going to find a way around it. And there's nothing that's going to stop me. And I'm going to keep working until I execute and accomplish the goal at hand. And when I accomplish those goals, I'm gonna set new goals and I'm gonna accomplish those goals. So really, my athletic career was just a stepping stone. I think that it set the foundation for where I am right now. And now it's time to build on that foundation. It's leveraging the network that, playing college sports and, briefly playing professional sports has, allowed me. And then now it's just, really executing. It's just hard work, grit, determination, all things that I learned while playing. But yeah, I think, for me personally, playing was just a stepping stone, and, so much greater is to come. And I can't wait to, step into that. And I'm just enjoying every step of the process.
Is there anything that you say that you would take back if you had to plan out your athletic career, be in hindsight, looking at everything you've been through? Is there like a point where you like, maybe I could have did this differently to maybe result in a different outcome?
No, yeah, I'm a firm believer everything happens for a reason. Sometimes in hindsight, I've caught myself sitting there like, dang, what if I didn't get hurt? What if I didn't get nerve damage? Where would I be right now? Shoot, I think I'd probably be in the NFL playing still. But hey, it happened. It is what it is. You got to live with it. And, it's opened up so many more doors for me to where, I'm able to, build out a business and hopefully execute it to becomes a big successful business. And, I've learned so many life lessons through that. And, shoot, I had the opportunity to put an NFL jersey on, which was a childhood dream. Whether it be, brief as it was, it is what it is. I've learned so much. So I'd say, no, there's nothing that I would like to do differently. Everything taught me a lesson. And each of those lessons is something that I take with me today. And what motivates me to really, succeed in this next phase. They always tell you your playing career is just such a short microcosm of your life. There's so much more after that. And, being done playing I was 26 when I stopped playing. There's so much more from 26 to when, when I paired. Yeah. Yeah. So, right now is the time. It's like, it's go time now. I'm ready. I'm ready to take on everything head on right now. So I'm extremely excited. And I can't wait and see what the near future holds for myself and for my partners.
Now, have you found, being that you know how the football grind is, you know how much time commitment it takes to do that? Has it been the same amount of time that you've taken getting good for football, like you have your business, or is it just a different way you spend your time that you notice on this transition?
Yeah. Sure, it's probably more. It's probably more because look, it's an uphill battle. It's an uphill battle. We come out of football, we're not a season. We don't got the opportunity to be a season as some of the people who are coming out, from school, where they've got the internships every single year. They got the experience. And so now it's really kind of just piecemeal and bootstrapping and networking and learning how to ask the right questions. And so it's a lot of, exploration, understanding, kind of, testing the waters. Like, okay, if I do this, is this going to work? But this definitely, I think, the transferable skills in terms of, perseverance, leadership, I think that's been huge. I say now, I football started my leadership qualities and it's brought me here now, where now we have a small team and able to delegate and this and that. But it's the grind is it's 7 days a week, every single day. You got to put hours in. If you're not putting hours in, you're not putting yourself in a position to succeed. So that's my take. Is I just grind mode, head down, let's get it. It's kind of my mentality.
Absolutely, man. You've been dropping gems on the podcast
Yeah.
all day. On the other hand podcast, we do it the best here. I'm with Amir Carlise, former Notre Dame receiver and USC running back. The kid can play anywhere. Play a little But last question before we get out of here, we know we like to end on a little something inspirational for people listening. What would be 3 things that you would suggest somebody to try that you've done that enhanced your life, or something that made your life better?
3 things, if I could boil it down, is always challenge yourself to be better. And so, however, I always say you have 24 hours in a day. You're usually awake for 12 hours a day. Approach your life like it's an investment. Each minute of the day is an investment into yourself. And are you doing things that are going to cause your stock to rise, cause your stock to plateau, or cause your stock to decrease? And if you're investing in yourself, if you're investing in, your mind, your body, your spirit, to a point where, you feel like you're going to get a positive return on that investment, those are the things that you should put your time into. If there's anything that is, disturbing your peace, if there's anything that's, any negative, any negativity in your environment, those are things that you got to cut out. And especially if it's advice to a young athlete, surround yourself with like-minded people, invest in yourself. That could be anything. If you're an athlete to an aspiring business professional or aspiring business owner, you only have so much time in a day. You have a finite amount of time. So spend your time on things that are fruitful, things that are going to, make your life better, improve, and help you achieve your goals ultimately. So in a nutshell, that's kind of, the advice that I would give. Is just, invest in yourself.
I like that, man. Like you said, you've been investing in yourself ever since
Yeah.
day one, and you've been seeing the accomplishments fall from the sky, man. It's been a pleasure to watch you, a pleasure to play with you, and it's uncommon, man. You get to see people like you being able to make a smooth transition through the adversity, through the hard times, and still find a way to inspirate and do so many good things as the next level comes. So, common stories in sports, you got it with Amir Carlise.
Yeah.
So much for joining the Other Ahead podcast.
Thank you for having me. And shout out to Malik, greatest quarterback guru in the nation.
Tell them where to find you.
You can find me on Instagram, SolarBot3, Twitter, SolarBot3. If you got any questions, anything, just hit me up on Instagram, Twitter. Stay tuned. We got some cool things in the works. We got a little production in the fall, so we'll be releasing that on the Instagram. Stay tuned. Appreciate your time. Thank you, Malik, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And make sure y'all boys sign up for that Players Company.
Yeah.
Financial advice.
Yeah. If you need any of that, hit me.
All right, I love it, man. Thank you.
All right.
And we out.
Take care. Peace out.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about, baby. On the Other Hand podcast with your boy Lucky Lefty. We bringing the most fire to you. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thank y'all. See y'all later.